Good morning and welcome to My Travel Ball. This is a place where parents, players, coaches, instructors, and organizations can come to learn from each other and share knowledge and experience within our travel ball community. This community has been developed just for this particular niche, and we want everyone to share as much information and interact with each other as much as they can to make the experience better for everyone. Today, we welcome Logan Parker, Director of NCAA Diamond Sports at TruMedia, which is a data analytics platform that's helped dozens of major and minor league organizations, as well as Division I teams, organize and filter multiple data sources to provide athlete feedback and advanced scouting reports for coaches and players. Logan, thanks for being with us. I hope I got that kind of introduction right. But again, great talking to you again last week. Great talking to you again today. We met a couple of years ago at the ABCA convention in Nashville when you had just started with TruMedia. Do me a favor and do the audience a favor and give us a little background about yourself and how you got into this side of the business and how TruMedia and data analytics is helping players and teams at all levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Nailed the intro, by the way. So I appreciate
Except for
that.
the phone, right?
Yeah, so Logan Parker, like you said, thanks, Craig. Realistically, I was a player at the junior college level, played at Division I level at University of Cincinnati, was fortunate enough to get drafted in the 12th round by the Cincinnati Reds.
Good for you.
Kept playing, played 6 years until the game ultimately told me, like, hey, you're not good enough. You need to do something else. Found a passion in coaching through playing. Helped a teammate of mine. He hit a double that night, and he kind of looked in the dugout and pointed to me, and I'm like, wow, that feeling that I got inside, I want to continue to feel that, and I want to give
Right.
back everything that was given to me as a player. So, immediately transitioned into coaching and went to that world. Spent 7 years at a junior college in Texas, at Odessa College. Was fortunate enough to go work at the United States Military Academy at Army West Point for three
Oh.
years.
Mhm. How was that?
Unbelievable, just a wild experience, everything that you can imagine. So the beauties of it, the allure of it, the players and athletes that you get a chance to work with and
Right.
interact with on a daily basis, um, elite, right? Like those guys and what they sign up for,
Yep.
not only in the classroom, but on the field.
On a number of levels. Yeah.
Right. And then what they're signed up to do for 5 years after graduation to go be officers and be leaders of our country. So
Right.
elite level people, and then decided to leave there, kind of a family decision, and move to Radford, Virginia, and work for Carl Kuhn for a year. And then found out throughout that my wife was pregnant with twins, and ultimately like had to make a decision, like what's next in life, having four daughters. Kind of doesn't align with college coaching and recruiting and all the things that come along with it. So looked for the next best thing for not only myself, but for my family, more importantly. Came across a job posting. A friend of mine sent it to me from TruMedia, and he was like, hey, this is the platform you used, right? And you love this? And I was like, oh my goodness. Their job description was you needed to be a former college coach and have used the platform. So I was like, okay, check, check. Yeah, and just attacked it from there. Did everything I could to get the job. Was fortunate enough to land it. And like you mentioned, you and I met in Nashville. That was day one for me on the job. So I was kind of drinking out of a fire hose per se,
Yeah.
for a little bit. But yeah, was fortunate enough to use the product as a coach, so I see the value in it and
Mhm.
know the time and energy that it can save and all that it can provide. So it's kind of an easy pitch for me when I'm talking to coaches, because
Right.
some are more old school minded and some are more, analytical, and being able to wear multiple hats in those conversations has helped.
Good. Well, like I said, I know we met that first day, and just for everybody's sake that listens to this, can you give a quick, overview of the platform and what it provides? There's obviously a lot of data, a lot of technology out there now, a lot of folk kind of jumping into the space and have been jumping into the space. There's groups that are new to it. There's folks that have been around for a while, and obviously, we've seen the advent of data analytics and the pros. We see it, we hear about it all the time. But just give us a little bit of an overview of TruMedia and what your role is within that, and how it's been helping some of the teams you worked with.
Yeah, so basically what you mentioned earlier, data and analytics company. So I think the power in our product is being able to provide coaches exactly what it is that they're trying to find on a player, whether it be their own guy or an opponent, right? Whether it's swing decisions, chase rate, like where can they expand? I think one thing our company does a great job of is not only the customer service piece, but having visuals that are clean, that are, for lack of a better word, pretty, that
Hmm.
players can kind of go straight to look and see. And then also integrating everything that we have go straight to film. So if I want to see anything on a particular player, I want to see the last 10 doubles that the guy hit, being
Hmm.
able to click one simple button and get to that. That along with, adding anything that they were trying to put together in the past that was taking 8 to 10 hours a week on a coach to try to prepare for an opponent, we
Hmm.
can do with automation and with basically 2 clicks, and you have it within minutes. So saving the time and energy, but also being able to take a deeper dive into what exactly is important to you as a coach. So ultimately, my role is to try to figure out what's important for each coach and meet them where they're at. Not try to put too many things in their head, but what is it that's important to you, and how can I help you get that and achieve that through our platform?
Gotcha. And where does that most of that data and video and information come from? I'm sure it's different at different levels in different schools all along the way.
Yeah, so for Division One, baseball and softball, it comes primarily from Synergy. And then on the Division One baseball side, we also integrate TrackMan data. So I
Hmm.
think that's the value add for a lot of teams is TrackMan sends you a CSV file at the end of a game, and it's multiple rows and it's multiple columns, and there's a lot in it. And we take that and put it into our platform to where it's okay. I want to see the spin rate on Johnny's slider that he threw that day.
Hmm.
It spits it out right there for you, and you don't have to go to the file anymore.
Okay. Which is great. How many teams you currently working with?
Division One baseball, we've hit our 200 team mark last week. So after you and I spoke on the phone, we reached that milestone. I believe.
Congratulations.
Thank you. 202 total Division One baseball teams, and then 72 softball teams at the Division One level.
Okay, so now that you hit 200 as a sales guy, when's 300?
I think there's 309 Division One baseball teams. Some were just we may never get, right? But
Yeah.
ultimately, like that 200 mark was the goal. So
Oh,
our
good. Good
team
for
has
you.
done a great job. Like it has not just been me. This is a team-led thing.
Hmm.
So our team's done a great job of pushing the product, but also our clients are our biggest salesmen.
Hmm.
There's many a times where the summer rush is done with recruiting, and I'll get a random email from some coach saying, "Hey, I heard about this. I'm tired of other people talking about it. Can I jump on and see what it looks like?"
Right. So I was going to say, so there's I think we talked about the other day, kind of the fear of missing out. It's like I don't want to be left behind by this. I've got my own system, and we also talked about old school, kind of the eye test versus, I know what I see as a coach versus what the data is kind of truly telling me, and how you blend that together. How do you kind of what is that biggest challenge? And I know you're reiterating some of those things that you said to me the other day, but I just want to share with the audience is, some of the biggest challenges you kind of see with that in terms of people adopting and taking it on and saying, okay, you know what, I need to do this. What are some of those challenges you're seeing today?
I think first and foremost is just getting out of that comfort zone and being able to have, whether it's yourself or somebody else on staff,
Hmm.
truly understand what a hoppy fastball, for example, looks like, right? On you watch the film and you're like, it's up in the zone, but like, does it truly have carry? Does it ride through the zone?
Hmm.
You look at the TrackMan numbers and what it spits out, and you're like, yeah, that's going at 2,800 RPMs. Like that's moving and that's got some ride to it. So I think being able to take that and then present it to a player, but not have to make it super analytical and not make it super data driven. Like, listen, guys, we're gonna have to work on top of this fastball, and here's why. I
Hmm.
think it helps kind of connect those dots for players.
So I was just last week or 2 weeks ago, I just did. a conversation with Chris Butchek, former MLB player and pitcher as well, and he talked about some of that, and he uses some of that in his training as well. I probably ought to have you guys talking to each other because he you guys could probably talk for 2 days straight about some of this information. It'd be great. But how do you kind of look at this versus your days as coaching versus your days as pitching, not only as a coach, but also as a player? How do you see the kind of the transition? Is it night and day, or is it something you wish you had then, or is it just kind of the normal evolution?
Man, it's night and day. I wish I had it as a player. If I
Hmm.
had something like this, I wouldn't have been in my own way so much, right? Like there was plenty of times my favorite manager I had in the minor leagues was David Bell. And DB would come up to me and be like, Park, you're in your own way so much. Like zero chance you're gonna hit because you can't get out of your own way. And I'm
Right.
like, I know, but I'm here for early work. And he's like, you can't come to early work tomorrow. Like he would legitimately kick me out of early work. He's like, you're gonna show up at this time, you're gonna get dressed, and you're gonna come take BP, and then you're gonna play the game. And those were like some of the better games that I had at that level because I got out of my way, but he forced me out of it. So
Right.
if I had a platform like ours, knowing where I was pitched, knowing where I was doing damage, trying to combine the two of those things, like what am I good at versus what this pitcher is good at and how he's going to try to attack me, I think that would have changed my entire career, right? But I didn't have it, didn't have access to the video that players have now.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's completely night and day.
In a lot of this makes sense, obviously makes sense at the minor league, at the major league, at the Division I level, at the kind of what some would look at as the elite of the elite. Obviously, there's pro players that are below Division I that go through it. So, do you think this is translatable to those groups as well? Are they utilizing data as much, or do they have access to the data as much, or is that still a challenge for them? And then kind of an add-on to that question is then going down to high school and travel. How does that kind of trickle down to those folks that are just kind of getting ready for the recruiting time?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it trickles down. I think it affects everyone because kids have their swing or their pitching mechanics and everything else on video now. Like
Right.
my parents weren't going to carry around a camcorder when I was growing up, right?
Right.
Like any swing that a kid takes in a game, mom, dad, grandpa,
Hmm.
somebody has that on film.
Yep.
So they're going back and looking at it, analyzing it, breaking it down. A lot of kids now, like we at TruMedia, also work with some of the bigger facilities out there, the drive lines, the treads,
Hmm.
have access to our platform for their pro players. But there's so many times that kids are doing lessons, pitching lessons, hitting lessons. Those are being recorded,
Hmm.
right? They're breaking down the film. It's just part of it now. So I think the challenge of it for us as a company is how do we get to those other levels, right? Like you're talking travel ball and those sort of things. How do we get it to those kids to where
Hmm.
when they go to an event and their game is streamed or they do have some TrackMan data at those events, like at Lake Point, how do we expose them to our data and also use it to not only help themselves, but also use it in the recruiting world of when they sit in that head coach's office and they talk about development. What does truly development look like? If you don't have a plan for me and you just kind of throw a mass shotgun approach at it, as a parent, I'm looking at that going like, there's not a direct plan in place for my son when he gets here. And I want the student athlete to ask the coach, like, Coach, do you guys have TruMedia?
Hmm.
Coach says yes, which I mean, with 200, the chances are they're going to say yes. But then how are you utilizing that? So those are kind of the things that I kick around on a daily basis to try to help grow the game at not only the Division I level, but all the way down.
Well, and we utilize, you talk about using video, and I with USA Scout, I take video of my players right now with my 15 U's and just try to help them and analyze it and slow down video, talk to them about not so much. deep dives, but just kind of the simple stuff of,
Mhm.
whether it's their shoulders, whether it's their, their load, whether it's how they're coming through, what their swing plane kind of looks like, and I can kind of show them via video. You guys obviously are taking that to a much different level. Um, Even so much as getting into to scouting reports. And that's a part that's a little fascinating to me as well. Obviously, I can see the benefit to coaches and athletes in terms of their specific data. But how do you kind of see this transitioning into advanced scouting reports, which is obviously used at the major, minor, and Division I level, but is it really being used that much at the high school and travel level, or is that something that's coming you see coming down the road with
I
scouting
see it
reports?
coming down the road for sure. The way that I laugh about it now, but the way I found information on my opponents when I was a junior college coach is I would call the coach who played them the previous week and say, "Hey, man, what does Midland have? Like
Yeah.
they're leading our league. What do they have?" And so you're just kind of talking shop.
Watch out for
Um,
number 32.
yeah, like don't let 32 beat you. And
Right.
your starter on Friday is a really good sinker slider guy. You got to see him
Yeah.
up in the zone. Like simple conversations like that.
Hmm.
I see that's probably how it goes at the travel ball level and still even in the Division II, Division III world,
Yeah.
right? Like you trust your eyes, you go watch the games, you do as much as you can, but ultimately you go into it somewhat exposed, right? Because you don't truly
Right.
know. So you go into it like our best versus your best, and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. Try not to beat yourself, right? Like don't walk a lot of guys, and if you're playing outfield, drive in more than you let in.
That's right. Yeah. But I just and the reason it fascinates me is I see the potential benefit to it for these folks that are in similar tournaments on a regular basis and especially at the high school level when kids are not just high school versus high school, certainly that helps because that's a high school coach's business. They're in the business to win ball games. And at the travel ball level, I look at it also as I'm trying to develop, you know, kids so that they can learn how to attack a batter when they're pitching. They can read a swing when they're in the field so that they can, react accordingly as they do it. And so I think this kind of data and these types of things are going to be incredibly useful in the future and probably become the norm as well. I don't know that that's going to happen in the next year or two, but I think moving forward, that's going to be useful information that people, from a B2B standpoint, will pay money for at some point and say, "Yep, I want it. I want some advanced listings." Just like, going out to a PBR tournament or a PG tournament, if I want to win that or if I want to do well and show well, give my kids a chance to showcase their abilities for 4, 5, and 6 games. I better learn something that I can keep winning those games so I can keep moving forward with it. So I
Yeah.
think it's incredibly useful and potentially the future of this stuff.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. And I think there's a combination, and I think what our platform does really well is meet you where you're at. Like I mentioned before,
Hmm.
it's not going to force feed you something. You don't
Hmm.
have to look at certain things. You can look at exactly what it is that you want, but also something you just mentioned, there's a different part of this game that's not being taught at every level or every travel organization that is the game within the game. Like, can
Hmm.
you read a swing? Those are the intangibles that I say we, but I'm not in that space anymore, that college coaches look for. Like, can this guy truly play the game? I
Right.
know his numbers and his analytics are great and his swing looks great on film, but when I
Hmm.
go watch him, he can't run the bases. He's got no clue on a secondary lead. He's really bad on dirt balls. Like between
He's getting
innings,
he's
it's
getting a
just kind
bad
of
jump on a fly ball on fly ball.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Like how does his body move when he's at second base and there's a fly ball to right field? Like which shoulder does he go back to the bag with? Like intangibles that college coaches look for because from a high school perspective, the transfer portal has changed the game
Ooh,
for these kids, right? Like who's being affected the most? In my opinion, it's the high school kid, right?
no
So they're
question.
trying to find the edge. The way you step onto a college campus and play immediately or have a chance to play is to be bigger and stronger, right? So like there's a lot of people investing into the weight room, which is
Hmm.
which is great. but at the same time, like you have to do something on the field that makes you stand out. So being able to not only have data and analytics, but the part that you're talking about, teaching the game at
Hmm.
a higher level and having the players be able to be essentially their own coach
Right.
when they're in the field or in the batter's box or on the mound. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm pitching and I don't like that swing. Like he looked way too comfortable there. What do I do next?
Hmm.
Because you can't come out to the mound every time a guy takes a good swing and fouls
Right.
one off, right?
Right. You got to
So,
pull them out. Yeah.
yeah.
It's the measurables that, like you said, are the measurables are going to get somebody's attention,
Hmm.
and it's going to be, hit kids that are sending in videos of, hey, I improved my exit velo off the tee from here to here. That's fantastic. Can you play the game? Can you hit a
Yeah.
breaking ball, when it's
Yeah.
running away from you?
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of what is most important to me also is those intangibles. Even back to my playing days, not anywhere near the level you were at, but it was the same thing. It's like, okay, if I wanted to be better, I had to do things kind of differently than some of the other guys. I might be able to throw as hard, but I don't know where it's going. If I played center field, okay, I teach my kids now, let's read that pitch, let's read that swing, let's figure out what you just saw from that guy. Where's he typically going to go when that ball comes off the bat? So you can maybe get that one extra step ahead of time and go from that. And that's again back to what you guys do. I think kind of learning maybe having some of that data to say, okay, what's a hot zone? Where's this guy typically hit? What's he typically doing? You learn some of those kinds of things. It's going to help everybody on the team kind of prepare moving forward. So sorry to kind of go off on a tangent with that, but I think these are important parts of the game.
Yeah, for sure. I think the way I look at scouting reports on opponents is how comfortable can I feel going into that game? Do I feel prepared? Now, you never know what the game's going to throw at you, and that's why this game is so beautiful.
Right.
But am I prepared? Right.
Yeah.
And so, like teams that have our platform, I feel like they are prepared, right? Like they at least have the information in front of them, whether they've looked at it or not right before that game. Um,
Right.
but I feel like they don't go into it unprepared from a number standpoint or from a spray chart or a past history standpoint. It's those that don't have it that kind of go into it saying like, okay, our best versus your best. And to your point earlier, like you may be left behind, right? If you don't have
Right.
something that's helping you make informed decisions.
Right. Well, and you guys are offering something, and again, TruMedia obviously does more than just baseball. But you guys are offering something here that again is not just for the athlete in their development, but it's helpful. It's for the coaches, it's for instructors, it's for organizations, it's for the teams, and it can even be for um, a group of team or a division of teams that maybe can be working together and sharing information and helping develop all along
Hmm.
the way. So, kudos to you guys for the success you've had so far with this. And again, like we said, we'll probably have multiple conversations on this, and we probably ought to have different topics. One of the things I'm curious about, probably don't need to get in today, but what are the pitfalls for data? What is it that coaches, players, and teams fall into that say, okay, I'm going to lean so heavily on this, or I'm going to believe in this when I should be kind of using my eyes, and vice versa. Like I said, probably a different topic. I don't know. I don't know if you have any quick thoughts on that,
We
but
could go down a lot of rabbit holes with that one for sure.
yeah, because it's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of companies that are coming out and doing some great stuff. Now it's just kind of we all in the marketplace have to wrangle it and figure out what works best. From a coach's perspective, I look at it and go, okay, there's 100 different organizations I could go with. What's actually going to do what you said, and that is address my particular needs, address our organization's particular needs, or my athletes' needs
Yeah.
moving forward.
Yeah.
So just kind of to wrap up, again, I appreciate you being here. Give me, just a brief idea of how people can get in touch with you for a demo or for more information and kind of what that will look like for them, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. My email address is logan at trumedianetworks.com.
Okay.
That's the easiest way. We also have a support email that goes out to, I think there's like 5 of us on it. So it's NCAA support at TruMediaNetworks.com.
Okay.
So either of those ways will get you taken care of. The first step, right, like when the emails come through, is we'll connect immediately. I think our customer response time is second to none. But we'll respond. We'll say, like, what time are you available for a demo? What day works best for you? We try to fit that in with whoever our potential client's schedule is and make
Okay.
it work best for them. And then it's a screen share. Similar to this, we'll jump on, we'll show people around the site, the abilities of
Mm.
it, answer any questions. I think those are the most fun for me, at least. When you're on a demo and people have questions. Well, Logan, all of the stuff you showed me is great, but can your site do this? And when you put it to the test and it passes the test like within seconds, it's really funny to see like even the old school coach go like, okay, like, well, what about this? And then have like their analytical person jump in and be like, well, I want to see, and then they throw out something crazy. And as they're talking through it, I'm just doing it on the site.
Right.
And they're like, wait, you just did that for the entire scope of Division I baseball? And I'm like, yeah, and here's the leaderboard with that. So, yeah,
So
I
you're
think
not so you're not that great a salesman. You're just a demo
oh,
guy.
the product sells itself. The
I'm
coaches
kidding.
that use it sell it. Like I'm
That's
just here.
awesome.
I'm a
Yeah.
support guy.
That's the way it should be. I'm
Yeah,
just kidding. That's great. You've done a great job with it, and congratulations on the success. In a short period of time, and I'm so happy for you guys and glad you're doing well. I'm gonna post this, and hopefully we can push some folks your way. But again, in terms of your background and experience and what you're kind of doing for kids, trying to make it to another level and take it to another level and helping schools take it to another level. Congratulations, and I hope we can have some more discussions along these lines in the future.
absolutely. Happy to do it. That's what we wake up for, trying to strive to do each day, right? How can I help someone else
Right,
today?
right. That's
This
that's
is
what we
good.
got into this for.
Amen.
So, listen, I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll be talking soon.
All right, Craig. I
Thanks,
appreciate it.
buddy. Bye bye.
See you.